Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So I went to the council building not too long ago. Did a bit of a story about a guy called Doig who stole £930,000 from the taxpayer while he was working as a financial manager at Gedling Borough Council. So today is the 2nd of October and he's just had a sentencing at the Crown Courts. So I went and listened to what's actually has happened today, and the case itself, and it's quite mad really, and how well he's been covering his tracks for the past 19 years. So the council, they have their internal system. They have a two-part system which they're going to be fixing due to the theft of the 930,000. But what he's done is he's come along, worked his way up the ranks to be trusted, and he's come and he's managed to become a way to change the system over the years and know how it works inside out. So what he's been doing to get the fraud, he's been using the council's buy a car scheme, where they allow people who work for the council to buy a car and pay it back through their salary over a certain amount of years, interest free. So what Doig was doing is he was using the system to steal the money. So any amounts under £10,000 has to be authorised by one senior member higher than what Doig was, whereas if it's anything above 10,000, it has to be authorised by two people that was above him. So what Doig was doing, he was using signatures from other cases, from staff members who have been said yes to the car and it's been signed by his superiors. He's been using their signatures and putting them onto documents to make it look like it's legit, and changing the bank details. For example, if you were buying a car from, let's say, the Ford dealership, the money would be sent to the Ford dealership for the vehicle. He's been sending the information about cars that he's buying as a member of the council, and he's been changing the bank details so it won't go to, for example, Ford. It would actually go to his own bank account. He's had a separate bank account, two separate ones, from what his main money goes in for his salary. So he's done that to stop people finding out about the case itself, any flags to pop up about the fraud that was going off. And yeah, he covered up his tracks quite well. He changed the recovery so when they're paying back the money, he's changed it to make it look like money's coming into the accounts as repayments when there wasn't. But what was crazy after all this, the way he was caught was by a retired colleague, who he asked to come back to work to help, since two of the colleagues were retiring. So she came back as part-time, and then she got a job as a proper job back there full-time, and she found out that there was a payment of £10,000 that wasn't accountable. There was more for a more value of what the vehicle was. So when she asked him about it, he became irate about the whole situation. Didn't want her to talk about it and so forth, but she gave him the benefit of the doubt and waited for evidence for him to submit to her. The evidence wasn't submitted, just something else, and that's when she started looking into one of the systems and found out all the information about the ongoing case. So after the first £10,000 was found, it went to she went onto the systems and found multiple amounts of car payments that was in his name, amounting up to lots and lots of thousands of pounds. I can't remember what the amount was. And then further investigation into it, they found more and more money that was being taken and hidden through different names and through different schemes and so forth. The money he used mainly was for his gambling, but he also used the money for adult websites. So he wasn't just using it just for gambling. It was mainly gambling, but it was also to be used for his activities on adult sites. The Alan Doig has been sentenced today to a 7-year sentence, which reflects his crime, and they're going to look into proceedings of crime to see how much money they can recover from him. He has already given up his pension of £300,000 back to the council as a way to repay some of the money that he has stolen. But they're going to look into his financial to see if there's any more money that can be taken from him under the proceedings of crime, which is going to be held at a later date. But he has been locked up, taken to the cells awaiting to be sent to prison now. So he's got a long sentence ahead of him, which of course he only has to serve 2/3 of the sentence, and then he'll be a free man again and be back on the streets. So there was a few things that were mentioned by the Crown Court. There was victim statements by colleagues who were affected, and of course they had other people that was in there. So the council, during the investigation, their systems only go back to a certain date. So the amount of money that they knew that he has taken during the period of the time was actually less than what he had actually taken, which he says there wasn't any more money that was taken before the point of where the council systems were, backed up to their records. The police found out a further few years when they looked at his financial bank accounts to look at the payments that were made, which he said was overtime from work, but instead there was money that was taken. So this is going to be covered in the news. There was news reporters writing in the courts to update the Nottingham Live page on what was happening during this case. Once he gets out of prison, he's going to have proceedings of crimes to be used against him to recover, or try to recover, some of the money he has taken. But of course, with inflation, it will be a lot more money than what he has actually taken, and it will be a higher amount. But he's been using all this money over the years for his gambling addictions, as he says, and of course for adult websites. I don't know what prison he's going to be sent to, as it was not discussed of where he was going to or the category of prison, but I'm guessing that will be in due course when they give it out to the public or the press. During the investigation by the council, it cost £130,000. Cost £130,000 for the auditors to come and look into the money that was stolen by Alan Doig, which is of course more money that's going to be costing the taxpayer, separate from the money that was stolen by himself. He went to a few voluntary interviews that the police had, and he was the only one that was looked into and charged with fraud. So when the police and the council were looking through his desk at work, once they dismissed him, when they had a disciplinary hearing on him and removed him from the court, from the council, they found loads of for sale documents in his drawer for, well, I'm guessing future purchases of vehicles that don't exist. But he had ones that were all below £10,000 in his desk, waiting to be used to commit the fraud. It's mental if you think, guys. So that's 7 years, but he's only going to have to serve 2/3 of his sentence before he's released on good behaviour. But that's going to be costing the taxpayer more money to have him in prison at whatever category prison they send him to, but the money is gonna, well, try to be recovered, but I don't think it's going to be able to be recovered because it's nearly £1 million. But there was, like I said, the police found out more information about other fraud that was done before the date, which the council did not find at the time. But they sentenced him to 7 years as one sentence instead of 2 sentences, which I'm guessing is to make it simpler and for him to just serve one instead of the sentence to be reset for the second, following sentencing. But yeah, that was Alan Doig. He's 57 years old and he came to the Crown Court today to be sentenced for the fraud. So for the people who's watching this, you might have a few different beliefs into the whole system. Do you think he should have been caught sooner? Do you think there should have been investigations before to stop him from being able to commit all these frauds? The council said they're going to be changing their system to make it basically bulletproof to prevent this or similar things to happen in the future. But for him to be able to forge signatures and put it as if he's bought the car and the money's going straight into his bank account, it's crazy, because he was spending nearly £2,000 every day while he was gambling. But he wasn't spending any of his own money, that was his salary. He was still paying his bills, he was still paying his mortgage. The only things that were being used for the gambling was the money that he was stealing from the taxpayer. There were a few letters that was given in from family members and friends saying about his character, that he's a good person and they didn't expect anything. He hasn't told anyone about these incidents that were taking place of the stealing the money and his gambling addiction. But he was signed up to a few different gambling sites instead of just the one, to make it not flag up that he's spending the excess amount of money on gambling over the past 19 years. When he first started, he worked his way up through the council back in, I forget what year it was, but he worked his way up to a trusted position, which the judge says is why he didn't get caught, and he said that he would have continued stealing the money if he wasn't caught, and he's released a relief that the money was flagged up by the accountant, because it's took the pressure from him, because he says it was just overwhelming and he was wanting to win a big amount of money to basically justify the amount that was used and lost. And I don't know what he would have done with the winnings if he won a big amount, or if he has won any amounts. It'll be interesting to find out at a later date on how much he won from the £930,000 that he was gambling. And just so you know, guys, the 930,000 was just a rough estimate on the amount. It was actually higher than what it was stated. But there's going to be a lot of news coverage on the whole investigation. But yeah, guys, this is the Crown Courts. So guys, so now I'm outside of Gedling Borough Council, the building where I was on the last video, if you've seen it. So Alan Doig, he sent 86 different transactions to himself through different bank accounts, and he also admitted to the police when he had a voluntary interview about it, that if he wasn't caught, he would have continued to steal the money over the next however many years that he would be employed by the council. So it does make you consider that, why wasn't it found earlier? I know colleagues of his felt ashamed and started to self-blame themselves that they didn't catch the incident at an earlier opportunity. But yeah, it's a massive case. In the last video I did, we had a comment from the council, from Rob, who's a manager for the council, communication manager. So I'm going to go in there and see if he's got anything he's wanting to provide, or if he will email us like he has put on the comment, and go from there. They also said that the amount of money that he stole in total would have been 6% of the annual budget for 2024 to 2025. So 6% of the whole budget shows you that that would have been a lot of money that could have been used for better things, and which is what the judge said, that it's not just like a victimless crime to the council, it has a massive impact on the whole council as the whole. But he did say that he went to Gambling Anonymous group, and he went there twice, but it didn't have any effect. And like I said, he says that he'll give back £300,000, which is his pension, back to the council, and they're going to look into his finance to see if there's any other money that can be taken and recovered. But a massive sum over many years, and he knew how the whole system worked from the start to the end, and how to deceive the system and how not to get caught. By keeping the amounts under £10,000, he only had to get it signed basically by one person, because there was 2 people above him. But we'll go in there anyway, and we'll see if he has any comment on the whole situation, and if he's got any reports, because he says about a victim statement and other information that he will provide us. So we'll go see. Hello guys, so I have just left the council building. I spoke to Rob on the phone. He wasn't in the office, he was on his lunch break at the time, but he has provided me with the press release on what they are giving out about the incident. He did say there was going to be a victim statement and a statement after the sentencing, which this is, but without the victim statement. So I'll pop it up at the end of the video so you can read it properly. But this is what has been given. But crazy, it says on here about a 5-year sentence, but when I was in the court they was on about a 7-year. So I'm not too sure on why they put it like that, but I'll have a read of it once I get back. And yeah, thanks for watching guys. Let me know what you guys think to this. Do you think it was a sensible sentence? What else do you think they should have done? Could they have refunded the money in another way? Or do you think justice has been served for the local community and the council? Also, while I was in there speaking to Rob on the phone, he informed me that they were not going to be taking statements either over the phone or in person, or any interviews regarding the event. It was just the press release that is going to be given out to anyone who requires the information about it.